Hey there, I'm Charlie and welcome back to my channel. As a compliment to my recent video visiting the home of Ned Kelly's last stand, I thought I would share with you this mini accessible adventure review of the town of Glenrowan, and specifically the Ned Kelly Museum and Homestead and the Ned Kelly Discovery Hub. Just as a disclaimer, because I didn't go into these venues with the intention of filming an accessibility review, this will only be a modified version and not a complete review of all of the elements, but I will share with you what information I can. First of all, I'm just going to talk about the main street where the majority of the Ned Kelly museums and theatres are and its overall accessibility before talking about venues specifically. Along the road itself, there are numerous disability parking bays, typically aligned with the opening of each of the businesses along the strip, so parking was really easy for us. As far as actually maneuvering once we were outside of the car, we did face a variety of different surfaces on our footpaths. While of course the paved concrete and bitumen paths were the easiest to traverse, there was a lot of roadworks going on, which means that we did have a lot of interruptions in the pathways, and there were parts of the road that didn't actually have any form of paved footpath at all, where it was exclusively loose gravel and dirt, which was very hard to navigate in some points. At one point I actually had a little mishap with the wheelchair and it began to close on me because of the uneven terrain. So that was a little scary, but we were fortunately very fine. There are also numerous public toilets available in the main park, including accessible bathrooms, so that is definitely a plus on the overall accessibility. Now that we've talked about the strip as a whole, let's go into the individual businesses, starting with Kate's Cottage, the Ned Kelly Museum and Homestead. This is split into multiple different areas, which I'll talk about individually. First of all, there is a souvenir gift shop, which is easily the most accessible part. It is flat and step-free. Most of the walkways are wide enough to navigate without issue. However, a few of the aisles are a little bit narrow for using a mobility aid through. Having said that, we did still manage in our electric wheelchair, but it was very cramped in some of those aisles. When it comes to the museum itself, the flooring of it is actually the original bricks from one of the old banks that Ned Kelly robbed, and so it is the equivalent of riding on any other brick flooring. However, there is a narrow-ish doorway and a relatively steep ramp that you have to go down to get from the gift shop to the museum. Once again, I did manage to traverse this in my wheelchair without too much difficulty, but I do think it's something to be made aware of. If you have a wider mobility aid or you are not as comfortable with a steeper incline, I would recommend not using this entrance. They do have a side entrance available if you need an alternative entrance. Leading on from the museum, there is an outdoor area that leads to the homestead. To get from the museum to the homestead, there is another short but somewhat steep ramp. Unfortunately, the ramp was a little bit too steep as it did make my wheels skid as I was trying to use it. Leading into the homestead itself, there is an entrance on either side of the building. If you're in a wheelchair, you're instructed to just use the first one, as there are steps coming out of the rear entrance. There is enough space within the homestead to turn around in my wheelchair. However, I personally backed out of the entrance because in the accessible entryway, there was still a bit of a lip that you had to go over, just because of how it had been worn down over time, which meant that as I was going into the homestead, I had to get Ian to help lift and push my wheelchair over the lip, so I found it easier to reverse out rather than trying to go through that process again on the way. Once you've left the homestead, you can go around the side of the building and see the Cockatoos, who by the way do not like the sound of an electric wheelchair, but are very pretty. And then there is this beautiful display area for blacksmithing. First of all, there's a little bit of a picnic bench space where there are some beautiful Ned Kelly dioramas to look at, and this area has very loose gravel flooring that I did need a lot of active help from Ian to navigate. I would recommend avoiding this and using the grass paths, the grass and dirt, because it would have been much more accessible, but we wanted to see everything. But that loose gravel isn't present in the actual display area for the blacksmithing, so that part is much more accessible, and we could have used the alternate entrance there and avoided all of that gravel. I will of course point out that if there is an active blacksmith display, it will be loud. If you have never experienced blacksmithing, the hammering of the metals can be very loud. So if you are someone who struggles with loud noises and there is an active blacksmith display, that could be a problem for you. I would also say that Glenrowan in general is probably not a great town to visit because there is a lot of loud noises, because the animatronic theatre has simulated gunfire and it's really loud. While it was difficult to navigate all of the museum and homestead at Kate's Cottage, I was able to get around with the assistance of Ian. However, if I had been there alone, I probably wouldn't have managed. Fun fact though, I was still able to get into this little jail to take this photo. Moving on from the Ned Kelly Museum and Homestead and heading on down to the Ned Kelly Discovery Hub. The Ned Kelly Discovery Hub is split into two sections. On the roof of the Ned Kelly Discovery Hub is a free lookout with some information plaques and a beautiful series of benches inspired by Ned Kelly's green sash. This is accessible by either stairs or lift 24/7 and is completely free. The actual museum part of the Discovery Hub is located in the main building, is completely flat and step free. It does have slightly lowered lighting because there are two major digital displays on projectors, but other than that, it is a very easily accessible, self-paced, small museum. It's very cheap and honestly really worth the visit if you go. The final place that we explored in Glenrowan was Ned Kelly's capture site, which is outdoors in grassland, but it has some clear dirt pathways. I personally did not use my wheelchair at this point. We drove to this point separately and we thought we saw the marker right next to where we were parked, so we got out and I didn't use my wheelchair, but it turns out that that was a different one of the markers and it was further along in the paddock, so we just walked, which I did instantly regret. I had a lot of pain after that, but it was really nice to explore. I could have brought my wheelchair there, absolutely, I just didn't, so that's on me, but it would definitely be a slightly harder spot to navigate because it is grass and dirt. Could still be accessible, but worth noting. I absolutely want to go back to Glenrowan, even though there were some accessibility struggles for me, and hopefully when I do return, I will be able to get a more comprehensive overview of the accessibility to share with you. That's all I have for you today, but as I mentioned at the start, this video is a complement to my main vlog, so please check that one out. It is linked in the description and at the end card. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really hope you liked it. If you did, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on any more videos coming from me. I hope you're having an amazing day and I can't wait to see you all again soon. Bye!